Hey everyone, it's Tim Holtz and I'm here in the Sizzix booth at CHA2016 and really excited to share some of my new alterations. So let's take a look. We are going to start with the dwellings, and the whole idea behind this concept, we launched this at the end of last year, and it really creates a whole different setting, a creative setting for home decor, party ideas, all sorts of cool things. Now it starts with the basic structure you can see at the top. That was the dwelling video. The dwelling that we did for the die. And then over here, you can see this is the new brownstone. What's nice about the brownstone, it's just a taller dwelling, and both of these structures can actually be embellished with all of these great die overlays. And now you can see here that the structure, as far as the scale, that new brownstone is a much taller, skinnier building, just to provide a little bit of height and scale. But our designers have really taken this and kind of stretch your imagination by either combining dwellings to make them much longer, or even connecting them. So if you scroll down here, you'll see some of the great new features. This is the new cottage, which is the new cottage overlay, which includes these little shuttered windows, the picket fence, and these dormers that you can add to the outside of your rooftop. Speaking of rooftops, we have the new rooftop die, and what this does is this is a steel die that provides either a shake, a tile, or a slate roof that you can add to any of these buildings. And you can see we've done everything from creating a little bell tower in churches to country little cottage bungalows, to even down here, if we scroll way to the bottom, you can see that we've taken the brownstone and the dwelling and connected it just to make a whole little scene here. So these have been really, really exciting because it's a whole different way that if you have those dies that you used over the holidays to create little Christmas villages or anything like that, now you have the ability to use them all year. And trust me, this year we've got even more exciting things for those planned. So moving on to some other new dies. In the Thinlit Arena and Shadowfest, as well as using dies and embossing folders for planners or memory, we've launched some calendar months as well as days of the week, and we have those in block and script, so you can use those on your scrapbook pages, your cards, or of course your planners. Then here for the Thinlits, we have a new marquee, and what this is a Thinlit die alphabet set that cuts the letter but also cuts out these holes, designed to stack on top of the alphanumeric that we launched last year. So if you have this 1-inch alphabet, this is a new one that is designed to overlay to create that cool marquee effect. But you can also stitch through it, add brads in it, all sorts of things. And I like to show the different samples because here you can see how we use this as that kind of negative feature space on a project, or of course you can always use the letters and the dies as their positive. So this really makes a great accent for people that are looking for words or anything that you want to introduce to your planners or anything like that, using those months or days of the week. So that's always good to get organized, especially at the beginning of the year. All right, so down here we've got new frameworks. Now frameworks are those steel wool dies that creates a repeat pattern. Here we've got the new Plus framework, and you can see from a mixed media aspect the ability to really use these designs to actually add texture and layer to a mixed media project. And I love the frameworks because it's steel wool, allows us to cut out chipboard and grunge board and thicker mediums, and that's what's really unique about this repeat pattern in a steel wool die. All right, coming up to the top, you'll see a lot of really interesting and intricate detail added this year for the Thinlits. We've got the lace set that has those 2 pieces of lace that we can die cut with so much detail. We've got the wildflowers, and I'll show you some of the samples of how detailed that is to cut out. We've got the layered butterfly, and what I like about this layered butterfly is it's 4 dies as a Thinlit, and it cuts out the solid shape of these butterflies as well as that detailed layer. So if you look down here on this project, you can see how we have the ability to layer those butterfly wings, whether we're cutting the solid shape or using that detail overlay. So you've got a lot of different ways that you can use those thin butterflies. Up here we have 2 of the new doilies. Now these are Thinlits, but what you'll notice about these doilies, instead of a typical symmetrical design, we've really gone in with kind of that hand crocheted style, so it really gives a very natural finish, and look at the detail that cuts. That right there is the doily, there's that lace, and here is that tiny tattered floral that we launched last year to create these dimensional flowers. Really fun. And here you can see here, there's another sample using the doily. All that detail. It's so cool, so amazing. Then we've done these stitch dies. This is the oval, the rectangle, and what these do, these actually cut out not only the shape, so you can use them to create photo mats, but you can also nest these shapes to cut out your own frames. But what this does is also creates, if you catch that little stitch detail under that zigzag and straight stitch on the inside, it cuts that out, and there again, it's not a symmetrical design, it's very hand stitched, but it cuts through the paper. So if you wanted to go back and take thread or anything like that, you can go in and hand stitch that to add another accent, which I think is really fun. Speaking of fun, check out these guys. These crazy guys. So this is Bird Crazy. So Bird Crazy and Crazy Things really have taken on a life of their own. Sizzix teamed up with Stampers Anonymous that creates the stamps to have dies that cut out to match those stamp designs. And we have the Bird Crazy dies. We also have the Crazy Thing dies. But this time for this show, we have the new mini Bird Crazy and Crazy Things in one die set. And what's nice about this is these little guys not only cut out all those detailed shapes, but they cut them out in a much smaller scale. So here you can see this is the new mini Bird Crazy and Crazy Things die set that works with the stamps. And you'll also notice that I change the perspective of those birds so they're looking at each other. So it makes for just, I think, a more unique and creative experience for you guys to go in and play with those. Moving down, we're going to go back into some steel wool dies, and you can see for steel wool dies we've introduced this new rectangular frame with that great vintage style. It coordinates with the oval frame that we already have in the line, and this is a steel wool die, so it's nice that we can cut out chipboard and grunge board and all of those thicker mediums to create those nice dimensional pieces. There you can see that marquee I talked about in action with those holes in there. And I love this steel wool die. This is the new mosaic die. So this cuts out all of these tile spaces where you can use the positive or the negative on the card. And again, because it's steel wool, it will cut through even chipboard for a book cover. But these actual cutout pieces, these squares and rectangles, if you own the Ideology fragments, these are the sizes of those fragments, so it allows you to cut out your own mixed media art and layer on those acrylic tiles. So it's a really nice die to have. All right. So this one, I would have to say really thank you to all of you who have embraced this concept of mixed media. So we launched this mixed media set last year, and what this is a thinlet die designed to cut through your paper, leaving a negative pattern behind. So it's not base. So let's take a look at the sample so you can see kind of the scale of using, this is that big Gadget Gears 2. You can see how large those gears are, and you can kind of interlock them, create rust effects or metal. We see down here that we've also included that steel wool die to create a really nice effect to have some gears into the background. Use it with that gear texture fade that we have. This guy, this is using the positive pieces of Dapper and using that stencil number to create that card, because Dapper is really great for steampunk, but also great for invitations and celebrations at any time you kind of want to dress up your project. I love the detail that these new thin little gear heads provide, because you can layer them, colorize them, nest them together. You can even see down here how great they are, because you can add gears to a card without really overpowering it. And here we've used that negative space of Dapper to our card with some fabric behind it. So a lot of different varieties when it comes to working with those dies, which I like. Now, this one, I talked about it on my blog. I'm so excited. When I started with Sizzix, I said I would love a steel wool die that will cut out a typewriter font. They're like, yeah, that's never going to happen. Well, I believe good things are worth waiting for. So this is the new Bix XL typo in upper and lowercase. This is a steel wool die, so now we can cut out that great typewriter font in chipboard and thick materials like grunge board and foam and plastic and metals. And you can use the uppercase. I love this card here because here they use the lowercase, but actually reversed it to give it the illusion or effect that it's actually been typed out by a typewriter, which I think is great. And I love being able to combine these with the coordinated texture fades, and this is the mixed media, to really give a great thing, especially for people that love typography like I do. It's going to be one of your favorites. And then finishing up, we've got some new texture fades. Now this time with the texture fades, I wanted to provide a really small scale repeat pattern that has kind of that pattern look to go with the very masculine look of Dapper, but also have a nice pattern that you can use with your diffusers. So here you can see we've got houndstooth, we've also done herringbone. You can combine those to create a really unique background, whether it's going to be a masculine or feminine project. Here we've got that new plus sign, and over here we've used like the new herringbone to create a really soft but colorful pattern. It almost looks like a chevron in the background. And this one, this is using the new tailored, which is kind of these little stitches, but it gives you those areas that you can color in with a white pen just create some unique effects. So overall, I'm really excited about this release that I've done with Sizzix here at CHA. A whole variety of creative ideas for you to choose from. And so I hope you're inspired to make things.